Yeah, so my name is Razor Suleiman. I am a tech entrepreneur, now turned family office investor. I'm Canadian by background, but I've spent most of my career in New York, Silicon Valley. And a few years ago, my wife and my family and I, we moved to Marbella, and we love it here. So when I was in Silicon Valley, I met two incredible entrepreneurs, Austin Allison and Spencer Rascoff. Spencer had taken Zillow public at like $30 billion. And they were starting a company called Pacaso, which was the co-ownership of Second Homes. They had asked me to join them really early, which was a unique experience as an entrepreneur to join another company. But this company was so unique and special. It was a small Silicon Valley idea at the time, but with big aspirations. We had raised money 5 months into starting at $1 billion valuation. And our goal was we were the fastest unicorn in history, to go global quickly. So I joined as global president. And when we did our research, because Europe was the next biggest market we wanted to attack, we learned that everybody in Europe loved this place called Marbella, Spain. And I got here, Marbella, Spain, and I got two tips when I got here. They were like, first of all, Razor, it's pronounced Marbella. And you don't need to say Spain. Everybody in Europe knows that it's Marbella. And so that's what brought me here. We launched the business in Spain, in the UK, and looking at other markets. And at first, it was just to come for a year, check it out, get everything going in Europe. But after 4 months of living here, Carrie and I fell in love. I mean, this place is paradise. We bought a home 4 months in. We're like, we're not going back, and we've made our family, our home Marbella. When I started my first companies, it was in Toronto, Canada. So I'm used to cities, I'm used to buzz. We then expanded it to New York, and New York is fun and crazy and just so full of energy. Silicon Valley, and again, moving there for my career was also an eye-opening experience living in San Francisco, being there for most of the past decade to just see the rise of these next great companies. We shared office space with Uber. We were good friends with the Airbnb guys. And then, COVID changed everything for everyone. And you reevaluate, where do you want to spend your time, your life? And, having a young family and now having, luckily 2 or 3 exits, under my belt, Marbella was the absolute right place for us at that time. We're now family office investors. We focus on the next great tech companies, Pacaso being, our probably our most successful unicorn. And Marbella is a great place to do it. There's an incredible, thriving community, right? All centered around the pool. We've got to meet, Karen and I were chatting, entrepreneurs and leaders and executives from like 30 different countries. It is this little international, paradise that I think is having this incredible moment, because many people who have the flexibility, who maybe have had, they've really won in business, somewhere around the world, and now they've come here because they want to win in life. And I think that's the type of entrepreneurs, executives, investors that Marbella attracts. And we're just so grateful because I feel like it's having a moment. And we came about 2.5 years ago, which felt like just the right time. So I started my tech journey back when I was 15 years old, before it was a cool thing to be a tech entrepreneur. Like now everybody wants to be a founder and stuff, but it was not cool at the time. But it's the only thing that I'm good at. I'm literally just great at creating tech companies. So I started my first one when I was 15. It was an early day stock market for baseball, hockey, football cards. I was super passionate about that. And I basically took advantage because the demand for hockey cards in Canada is through the roof. They can't give them away in the US. And the opposite true is for baseball cards. And so I took advantage of the price arbitrage between the two, created this like stock market service where you could buy and sell the cards, and I did it out of my bedroom. And I loved doing it. It was a passion that turned into a tech company that just helped pay for university. My most notable company was probably Achievers. It was enterprise software. If you think of like what Facebook is for your friends, Achievers is for your employees. It was a corporate social network. We started that in Toronto, opened up to New York, Boston, and then most notably, Sequoia Capital was our lead investor. It was the first time they're investing in an HR tech company, first time Canadian tech entrepreneur. So it was great to have their support. I got to learn so many things being in Silicon Valley, being in the Sequoia family. we talked a little bit about lessons learned. We don't have enough tape. We don't have enough time for me to talk about all of the many lessons learned. But I would say for me, and I think for young entrepreneurs, or at least if I find the patterns of success in my life and I overlay them with the patterns of failure, when I did things first out of love, things that I was passionate about, things that I cared about, communities that I wanted to be a part of, things that I believed in, those companies and then a not-for-profit, which we'll talk about, did tremendously well because they were powered by passion. Then there were companies that I started or opportunities that I followed or investments that I made for money. And those weren't as interesting or as successful. And some of them worked and some of them didn't. But those were a little bit more unpredictable. But the things that were powered by passion, at least the way that I'm wired, those are the things that when I look back on my life were the most successful things that I ever was a part of. So we were in Silicon Valley, we were building Achievers. We took it to 110 countries around the world. We went from being insecure to being the global leader in our industry. And in 2015, we got an incredible offer to sell the business. It was a life-changing event. It was a very clean, all-cash, unique deal for a founder to be able to sell this company. And that was never my plan. My plan was to build this company for the rest of my life. But we took the offer and we actually moved back from Silicon Valley back to Toronto. We had a 4-month-old boy and we started a family office to invest our capital. But the thing that we did for love was Elevate. And Elevate is a not-for-profit. It's a passion project, where Toronto was home then, Marbella is home now. And we collaborated with the leaders of the tech community who shared our belief that Canada was having a moment. And we wanted to create an opportunity for female tech entrepreneurs. We wanted to create an opportunity for diverse founders, for people that may not have got the same stage, opportunity, or capital. That's what Elevate is about. We want to disrupt together. We believe that diversity is our strength. And we created this platform, which would be, the akin to maybe South by Southwest in the US or Web Summit here in Europe. Elevate is that for Canada. It's the biggest tech platform. And it was, again, another passion project. We were lucky to host Sam Altman came by this past May when he did his global AI tour. Eric Schmidt came on our stages when he was launching his smart city in Toronto. He spoke at Elevate. We've had Michelle Obama. She did her global book tour, and then Elevate was her first stop. So we've been fortunate to have some global luminaries come on our stages. We ran that organization. It still exists today, but my co-founder Lisa now runs it now that I'm based in Marbella. So that's what I am passionate about. I think for an entrepreneur's journey, there are some highs, many lows. So, you kind of go through the journey. And, when I reflect back, the parts that I am the most excited about often is the beginning, the 0 to 1, that building that first product, that getting that first customer onboarded. I think about the 20 employees who joined me at Achievers, and these are some of the most talented humans that I could recruit. And we were all connected by the mission, which was to change the way the world worked. And I think about the journey we went through from each of the funding rounds when we had raised $30 million from Sequoia Capital, the first in our industry, the first in our country to do that. That was a very special day. We took in the whole team. We went to New York because we were opening up that office. And you just saw this little company that could continue to grow. But I would say, what was really special to me is that when we had exited the company about 7 years later, 17 of the 20 people who were there at the beginning, when there's just a hope, there's just a dream, there's just this crazy founder telling you about a better workplace that we're going to create, and to see those 17 people often start in their early 20s, now into their 30s, to be there at the end. They all had equity. Everybody at Achievers had equity. So now all of a sudden, like from paper wealth, they're now financially independent, right? They now have they started their own companies. They've become executives at other notable companies like Google or Shopify. And to see that initial team go on to do greater things. One of my early co-founders, Michelle Zatlyn, was the co-founder and the president of Cloudflare. It's a $30 billion company. right? So I'm so proud of, I would say, the Elevate and the Achievers alumni, the talented humans that I've got to work with over my career and see them do even more incredible, amazing things. That's what gives me the most joy. Those are the highlights of my career. So when you're a young entrepreneur, and I've been lucky to meet some such icons and luminaries, and you just want to pick their brain. So I'll just share a few notable conversations that I had. We had the privilege of hosting Bill Gates, and he had obviously left Microsoft, and he was doing the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and is going to cure malaria and solve the pandemics. And I'm chatting with him. I'm like, what would you have done differently in your career? And he took a moment and he said, I wish I didn't do the tech entrepreneur, like build the company and then do the philanthropy. His advice was you should do them in parallel, right? And that really resonated. So when we started, Elevate, we were still doing operational things, but we wanted to make sure that the give back was part of the DNA, part of our life. So that was a really inspiring conversation. I chatted with Johnny Ives, Steve Jobs' right-hand person. And it was after Steve had passed, so I had not had the privilege of meeting him. And I asked him about lessons learned from Steve Jobs. And he's like, most people think that Steve Jobs is this incredible inventor, but he's a great innovator, and he's great at focus. He's like, when he came back to Apple, when it was near bankrupt, there were 200 ideas and products going on, right? Steve Jobs didn't invent the iPad, didn't invent the iPod, didn't invent the iPhone. All of those existed at Apple at the time when they were about to go bankrupt. But what he was great at is he cut 197 other projects, and he bet the entire company on those 3 products. You look at it today and you realize that's 80% of their revenue. It's what makes Apple the most valuable company on the planet. His relentless focus and be able to cut things that you're excited about and prioritize the things that are really going to move the needle for your company. So Elevate, was just such a passion project for us. I'm grateful that we've welcomed hundreds of thousands of people. We've got now 40,000 square feet as a year-round organization in Canada. But I'm no longer there, and I miss it. And so I was chatting with Christian, the CEO of The Pool, about, hey, should we create like a little mini Elevate or a YPO or something? And the answer was yes. Razor, we should do this. Marbella is having a moment. Let's do this with The Pool. And so I'm happy. We just actually got out of our Elevate Forum meeting with the leaders of the Marbella community. And we're going to have a mini version of 50 people, global icons, late stage and exited founders, funds that have lots of capital to deploy. They're all coming together. May 14th to 16th in Marbella. We've got about a dozen companies represented. There are investors or founders that have either started or invested in 40 unicorns. I was just going through the list of the people that are coming. 40 unicorns, either started or invested in, are all going to be here in Marbella, hosted at The Pool. We're going to go through some of our highlights of Marbella, and we're going to have a little pop-up for the first time outside of Toronto. And I'm really excited to be able to continue to build community. There's such a vibrant tech ecosystem that's just starting to flourish. And I just feel so grateful to be at the beginning of what I think is an incredible decade ahead for Marbella and our community. So I think about the community that's really galvanized around The Pool, right? Very international, very successful, proven entrepreneurs, investors. And I love that all of them have chosen Marbella and even The Pool as their home and their office, right? And I think when you bring those people together who are all passionate about community, are all about building a life here, I think it's a really powerful force. It's a flywheel, right? When The Pool opened earlier last year, when we launched Investment Club last month, Elevate's coming in May, you're just starting to see the flywheel continuing to spin. And I was lucky that I got to be in Silicon Valley in 2010, right after the great financial crisis, and people were dusting themselves off, but the community believed, right? And you just saw all the leaders get together and all of them push and create this amazing momentum. And I saw that happen. I was more of an outsider at the time in Silicon Valley, but now with Marbella, my new family has sort of so well embraced me. I'm like, we can do this. Like, I've seen the playbook. I've seen what Silicon Valley has done. I've seen what we did this in Toronto when Toronto was having its moment. And I think we could do it again here in Marbella. So I think the future is bright. You know, Netflix is filming their Selling Sunset show here. Forbes magazine just rated Marbella as the #1 European destination. The startup visa program is amazing. The Beckham program, like all of the stars are really aligning right now for Spain. And I think people's mindset has changed. I think that, you know, I gotta be honest, like you need to go to an office every day, you know what I mean? And you need to have a big floor, you need to do the 9 to 5 or 10 to 10 or whatever your hours are. And I think Marbella provides this really great opportunity to still be focused on your career, but also be focused on your life and have this incredible lifestyle where you can integrate, you know, work and play and life. And I just think it's, I feel so blessed to be here at this moment, and I'm so excited for the next decade ahead. I think something has happened in this last year. You know, we spend about 10 months of the year, really the school year in Marbella, and then we go back to Toronto and Silicon Valley, New York for the summer. I went back this year. The #1 question I got asked, you know, wasn't, hey, do you want to invest in my company or can I speak on the Elevate main stage? The #1 question, I think 12 out of the first dozen conversations that I had was like, tell me about Spain. What's going on in Marbella? Why is everyone getting, you know, moving to that side of the world? Because I would say like, I know it's not a well-kept, everybody in Europe knows about it, but in North America, it's the best kept secret. People don't know. They know about, you know, a Saint-Tropez, you know, gets a lot of love, but they don't realize that this is the Saint-Tropez of Spain. You know, the Costa del Sol is this incredible community. Yes, climate is there, but it's got great healthcare is there. You've got great school systems here. You have this emerging tech ecosystem. So I think there's this pull that Marbella is having, the word of mouth. Elevate Forum, we're hosting 50 people, 40 of them are from North America. And I'm telling you, they're sort of dabbling and try before we buy. In fact, we just finished our meeting and I'm like, I bet you half of them convert and either buy a second home, maybe move their whole family in the next 3 years after this next visit. So there are challenges right now in North America, you know, some political, some healthcare, taxation, you know, everybody has their reason. But I think right now when people are reconsidering where do they want to spend, you know, the next portion of their life, I think Marbella and Europe specifically checks a lot of boxes for the North American tech community. You know, this example of what I tell young entrepreneurs to do or experience sharing that I had, you know, I was lucky as a 16-year-old, you know, my good entrepreneur friend at the time, Mark Graham, was like, Razor, they're getting a bunch of like entrepreneurs together. They didn't even call them founders at the time, right? And there's gonna be like pizza and girls and we should go and mingle with, right? Because being an entrepreneur when I was 16 was not a cool thing to do, right? And I showed up to it and it was this peer network and experience sharing. There was pizza, there was no girls. It was just a bunch of guys, okay, which we are gonna change that at Elevate, right? We wanna make sure there's a level playing field for everyone. But I got to be a part of these forums, these peer networks of experience sharing. Because when you're an entrepreneur, right, let's say even if you're a sole founder, or even if you have co-founders, like, it's very lonely. You know, some people say very lonely at the top. It's very lonely at the bottom, because that's where you're gonna spend the first decade. You might have little moments of feeling like you're on top, but it's a grind. And I think having a community of people who understand that grind, who have been there, who have empathy, who have experience sharing, you know, I've been lucky that I fell upon that when I was a teenager. And then when my companies grew and I qualified for the EO, which is a global network of entrepreneurs, I joined that one. When I qualified for YPO, which is like for very large companies, I think 50 million in revenue, I joined that. And I never gave up believing and investing in these peer networks. And that's why I'm so excited that now for the people who have graduated YPO and are looking for their next big aspirational community, we're creating Elevate Forum, right? People who have created $100 million in enterprise value, maybe even unicorn companies who run big funds or executives in large tech companies. We're creating a space for them to be able to share their experiences because, again, it's something that I had, luckily stumbled on as a teenager. But now, as in my late 40s, it's a community that I want to be a part of. And so we're going to create one here in Marbella, right? We've got the Toronto chapter, we've got Marbella. We're going to do London, in April or May this year. So we're going to build out this global network of peers who can share with each other. So I would say to all the young entrepreneurs out there, find your tribe. Find the people that are grinding it out like you are, who are passionate about it, and learn from each other, right? Even to this day, the more experiences that I have, the more successes that I have, I learn about how much more I need to know. I realize how many things I don't know. So I would say get involved in those groups as early as possible and then stay with them. And one day, hopefully, when you've built and you've had a successful exit, you can join us at Elevate Forum.